Hey, I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex. Happy 2025, everybody. And since it is a new year, I thought I would take a moment just to introduce this series, introduce myself to anybody that's new to the channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for being here. Every month, I do a number of best games coming to retail videos. You're here on the sort of flagship show. These are the best new games coming to retail. I also do the best new editions of older games or re-implementations of older games, and I do another video on the best expansions coming to retail. And how do I do this? I am in touch with about 400 publishers for this video, and I keep a huge spreadsheet, and I, catalog everybody when games are coming out, all that sort of stuff. I also follow up with everybody that's on that spreadsheet at the beginning of every month. And so I don't include anything in this video that hasn't been confirmed by the publisher that month. Now, that being said, still sometimes I include stuff in this video that doesn't end up coming out in that month because a publisher thought it was going to come out, in the month, and then maybe something happened with shipping or something happened with freight or something got stuck in a port or something like that. But this is sort of the best available information that I have, at the time that I'm doing it. And so if you don't see something here, it may be because it didn't get confirmed, it got pushed to another month, or it may be just be because I didn't hear back from a publisher. Sometimes I don't hear back because people have busy schedules, and if I don't get it confirmed, I don't include it because I want it to be sort of the best information available. And so, I structure the video just, through alphabetical order of the publisher, so there's no preference as to games or any of that sort of stuff. And I try to include about 25 games. It's also important to me to include a bunch of different types of games in these videos, I want sort of welcoming games. I want heavy strategy games. I want party games. I want all that sort of stuff in between so that anybody watching this can find something for them. Hopefully there's a game out there for everybody. That's what I truly believe about the hobby, and so I want this video to reflect it. So I just wanted to give that background to anybody that's new here, and thank you so much. And as always, I hope you find a game that you're excited about in this video. I hope you find something that juices you up. So here are the best games coming to retail in January 2025. I should have noted in the intro that when I say coming to retail, what I mean is essentially these games are fairly easily and immediately available. Coming to retail means coming to friendly local game stores. Yes, please go support your friendly local game stores. See if they have this a game that you're interested there. It also means online marketplaces or publishers' websites. It also means big box stores, Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart. Basically, these are just games that you can get either now or fairly soon instead of waiting 18 months from a crowdfunding campaign. So, I hope you find something. And the last thing to note is that all of these are North American releases. These are coming to retail for the first time in North America. Sometimes that means they've been out in Europe or Asia or some other place, and now they're having their North American release. So in that vein, first up this month, Arcane Wonders is releasing the game Ito. This plays 2 to 8 players in about 10 minutes, and it is a lightweight game. This is a party game. If you are familiar with games like Wavelength or Pinpoint, something like that, the Ito is very similar to those games. Everybody will be getting a number card from 1 to 100, and then there will be a scenario. Things you do to get out of school or something like that. There's a ton of different scenarios in it. And so you are giving a response based on where your number lies on the spectrum. So, if the spectrum was, you do this to get out of school versus you don't want to get out of school. If I didn't want to get out of school and I was like towards that end of the spectrum, then I would say, I set 3 alarms and I made sure to wake up early and I cooked breakfast for my family. And then if I wanted to get out of school, I would say, I put ice packs on my chest all night long to give me whatever. I'm making this up as I go. You get the point. You are trying to then, as a group, it is a cooperative game where you are then trying to put everybody's responses in the correct order. You're going, okay, you seem low on the scale, you seem high on the scale, and we all decide together where the responses go. And so it's a very easy game to teach, has a little bit of creativity, right, and how you want to come up with your answer. And so if you like creativity, if you want an easy game that you can play with a large group of people, Ito is a great convention type of game, a great family type of game that you might enjoy. Arcane Wonders is also releasing the game Mezen this month. Mezen plays 1 to 5 players in about 30 minutes, and it is on the edge of lightweight to medium weight game. This is a puzzle game. Yes, it has a theme. Northern craftsmen create intricate ornamental paintings to order, but really it is an abstract game. And it, looks cool with that sort of striking red and white box and stuff. So if you like puzzly abstract games, then this might be one for you. You will be moving tiles around and then trying to configure the ones that are left to match patterns on cards, and you'll score points for getting certain animal types. All of the tiles represent different animal types. And how they move and where they move and that sort of thing is dependent on whoever is the active player is going to call out something. They're going to call out horses, and then you need to remove some horses from your grid and then slide tiles around and move things up rows or columns or, just to basically get things to locations where you're going to score more points. You're just trying to manipulate the placement of your tiles in a grid in order to get points. So that is Mezen. Ares Games, in association with Galacta, is releasing Snails. This plays 2 to 4 players in 45 to 60 minutes, and it is, again, on that sort of edge of lightweight to medium weight game. When I talk about the weight, I'm mostly talking about it through BGG's complexity weight ratings. And so anything that's below a 2 is lightweight, anything that's like a 2 to 3 is a medium weight, and anything above a 3 is either medium plus or getting into heavy, probably if it's a 3.5 or above. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're deciding what games are for you. Snails, I've seen compared to the video game Worms, where you're moving around and fighting each other and there's a lot of combat. And Snails is kind of like Worms, but with snails instead of worms. You will have a modular board with a bunch of tiles, and that makes up the area. And then you are going to be playing cards into 5 slots that are essentially doing action planning for you. And then we're all going to flip over our first card, and I'm going to move over there, but then you're going to dig down on that tile, and you're going to fire a rocket over here. And so we're all fighting and moving around and just trying to destroy each other. And when you are, the other piece of hidden information is the cards that you play are hidden, but which snail you are going to be controlling with those cards is also a piece of hidden information. You'll have a few snails out on the board, but then you're deciding which one you are doing actions with that round. And so, yeah, if you like fighting each other, there's some silliness, obviously, to the game. There's fun artwork. One of the interesting things is when you dig down a tile, there will be a benefit on the other side of it, so you gain some stuff, and a lot of the tiles are stacked. There's like maybe 3 of them on top, and with the modular board, it's going to be different games that you play, different setups, and so if you just want to fight each other and be silly, then check out Snails. Ares Games is also releasing Altay, Dawn of Civilization. This plays 2 to 4 players in 40 to 90 minutes, and it is a medium weight game, a more solidly medium weight game than the last couple of entries. Altay combines deck building and civilization building area control. You will be buying cards to add to your deck like a classic deck building game. One of the things is as cards are bought from stacks from piles. The cards below it will be cheaper. So if you're the first one to buy something, it's going to get you an extra benefit, but then other people can buy from that stack for cheaper. And you're going to be using one of 4 factions in the game, and each of the faction has a starting deck with unique cards and subtle differences in the number of basic cards. So there's asymmetry in the characters that you're playing. And you know, when you play a card, you're going to produce resources, things like stone, metal, wood. You're also going to be building new settlements out on the board. You're going to continue to expand across the board, and then you're going to have to fight and defend against each other as your civilizations come in contact with each other. So if you like civilization building games, or if you like deck building games, then Altay combines the two of them. Ares Games is also releasing Builders of Sylvan. This plays 2 to 4 players in about 60 minutes, and it is a lighter medium weight game. Builders of Sylvan is a very it's large on table presence. You are going to be building these things up rather than just out, and so it looks really cool on the table with this 3-dimensionality. It is essentially a tile placement game. You are putting tiles down, but instead of building tiles out, you are putting tiles up. And so you are building these trees and these sort of civilizations on top of ever taller trees in the forest, and then you're going to be scoring points. It's not a cooperative game, though. You can build on the same tree, but you're ultimately trying to do it more efficiently, more effectively than other players, and scoring points in a variety of different ways. You know, you score points for collecting sets of cards. Those will get you certain special actions. You want your trees to be the highest in the game, and that will help you score more points. So if you like table presence, then Builders of Sylvan definitely looks cool like that. Just a different way to do some tile placement, building up instead of out. Asmodee, in association with Space Cow, is releasing the game Super Meow. This plays 2 to 4 players in about 15 minutes, and it is a lightweight game. This is a game that is meant for kids or families with younger kids. This is meant to be an introduction to deck building games. So if you want to introduce, they say it plays as young as 6 years old. So if you have a child under 10, this is probably a great way to introduce them to deck building. Part of the way that they introduce deck building is through thematic elements that kind of make sense. Your deck is your backpack, and then any card you've used then goes into the washing machine. And when you no longer have cards in your backpack, you wash all the cards in the washing machine, and you can put them back in your backpack now. You know, that makes sense thematically of kind of why you do what you do in a deck building game with shuffling and adding cards and that sort of thing. That sort of thing. I said it. I've been trying so hard. I say that sort of thing way too much. I say it too much, and all I'm doing right now is thinking about not saying it. I don't want to say it. I'm annoyed at myself for saying it so much. It's the thing I say when I don't know what else to say because there's no script in this video. I'm just flowing off the cerebellum for an hour here. I got to learn all this information and try to keep it all in my brain in order to tell all of you. And so I say that sort of thing when I'm just like, I need to fill space here, and I hate it. I hate it. So, but you are going to buy new cards. Those cards will go into your washing machine, add to your deck, and you are ultimately trying to find this superhero cat. If you find the cat and a cape and you have them both above you, above your player area, you win the game. So it's a really easy game if you want to introduce your kids to deck building. Asmodee, in association with Come On Games, is releasing Nova Era. This plays 2 to 4 players in 60 to 90 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. I love dice drafting, dice placement, all of that sort of stuff. I like games that have a lot of strategy, but also have, 10% of luck and just a little bit of excitement. That's why Champions of Midgard has always been one of my favorite games, is because there's a lot of worker placement, but then at some point you just roll dice and hope it works out for you. And so you are going to be drafting dice in Nova Era and then using those dice to take actions. There are little coaster sort of things where you're going to be pulling dice out of a bag, rolling them, and then putting them on coasters. And when it is your turn, you get to draft all of the dice from the coasters, and those dice will allow you to do certain actions out on the board, and the number of pips on the dice are maybe going to help you with the strength of the action. However, there's also, if you draft a section of dice and they're all large numbers, you are going to contribute to civil unrest on your own board. And so if your 3 dice add up to over 10 points, then that raises the civil unrest, and then that can get bad for you. And then also there's always going to be one coaster of dice left over, and those unused dice are going to fill up progress bars of natural disasters and the Dark Age, which are going to affect all players across the table. So you're trying to manage these disasters and, build up your civilization while you're managing civil unrest and disasters and things like that, and just does it oh, excuse me. It just does it in a really, cool dice way to me. I mean, this is one that I personally want to check out a lot because the dice drafting and action selection of it seems really interesting. All right, Asmodee and Kaman are also releasing Metal Gear Solid, the board game. This plays 1 to 4 players in 60 to 90 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. This is obviously based on the Metal Gear Solid video game IP, so if you're a fan of the video games, that might be a reason to check this out. It is a cooperative game, a cooperative campaign game, I should even say. You are going to play as characters from the video game: Solid Snake, Meryl Silverburn, Dr. Hal, Otacon Emmerich, and Gray Fox the Cyborg Ninja, and each of those characters is going to have a unique skill set, unique cards, and you are working to avoid detection as you complete objectives across multiple campaign scenarios. One of the cool things about the game is there is a dynamic AI system for the bad guys. So there will be bad guys coming out fighting you, but you're doing it. An AI deck of cards is running the bad guys, so nobody has to play as the bad guys. There's also a big sandbox feel to the game. You're kind of going wherever, doing whatever, trying to figure it out and accomplish these objectives and these missions along the way. If you like cooperative games, this is a big cooperative game. If you like miniatures games, there's a bunch of cool miniatures in this game. All of those are reasons to check out Metal Gear Solid, the board game. Asmodee, in association with Office Dog Games, is releasing The Fellowship of the Ring, the trick-taking game. Or I guess there's not a second The Fellowship of the Ring trick-taking game. We nailed it. We got it. Second try's the charm. 1 to 4 players, 20 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. When I say 20 minutes, though, that is essentially one scenario of the game is 20 minutes. Because this game is getting compared to The Crew, they aren't the same game, but they are similar in that they are both cooperative trick-taking card games. So if you've played a lot of The Crew, you understand what this is a little bit because it is cooperative trick-taking. However, in The Crew, you are having objectives and missions and that sort of thing. In this version, I said that sort of thing again. In this game, you're going to be selecting characters from Lord of the Rings. You're going to get cards, look at your hand, and then pick a character. And the characters are going to determine what you want to do that round, what you are trying to accomplish. For instance, Frodo needs to capture ring cards. So they want to win tricks that have ring cards in them. Whereas Pippin wants to take as few tricks as possible. So if you grab the Pippin character, you're looking at your hand and going, I think I can lose a lot of these tricks. And so the scenarios change, the objectives of the round change based on which characters are available, based on who grabs what. And so there are going to be a bunch of scenarios throughout the game. There are, I can't remember how many, but there's a number of them. And it's going to kind of scale up in difficulty as you go through them. Yeah. So if you like trick-taking, if you like cooperative games, or if you like The Lord of the Rings, this is one that I haven't had a chance to play, but I did talk to a lot of my friends that had a chance to play it at PAX Unplugged and some other places, and sort of universally, all of my friends said really good things about this game. They all really liked it and were excited to play it more, so I am excited to check it out and get a chance to play it myself. Asmodee, in association with Captain Games, is releasing the card game Duck and Cover. This plays 2 to 7 players in 15 to 20 minutes, and it is a lightweight game. This is a game that works for ages 8 and up. It is a silly, it's sort of that party/strategy game. It's kind of a party game, but there's some real choices in it. And so you have a grid of cards. You're putting your cards out into a grid, and then you reveal a card from a central deck, and that will allow you to move cards around in your grid. And you're trying to stack cards on top of other cards and then move them together. Because when the round ends, you're going to score the points for every card that you have showing. So if you have a 4 showing, that's obviously a lot more points than if you have a 1 showing. However, if you can get them all into a single stack by how you move them around in your rows and columns, then that's going to give you some negative points. And you play a number of rounds. You play 3 rounds, and then whoever has the lowest score at the end of 3 rounds wins. This is a game that I played a bunch at BGG Con in November. It kind of released there early, and it was a great late night game. I played it probably 3 nights in a row, but at like 1 a.m. sort of thing when we didn't want to play, we didn't want to set up a big game. Duck and Cover was great for that. It's silly, it's fun, it's got cute artwork. Thematically, you are trying to have the fewest splashes in your bathtub. So I don't know that comes out too much, but the artwork is fun and silly. Asmodee, in association with Repos Productions, is releasing the game For a Crown. This plays 3 to 5 players in 30 to 45 minutes, and it is a lighter weight card game. The unique aspect of For a Crown is it is a deck building game with a single deck. Rather than buying cards and adding them to your own deck and making your deck stronger, you are getting cards and then sleeving those cards with your own player color and then adding them back into a central deck. The central deck will be composed of every player's cards and common event cards, and when your card comes up, the card that you've drafted that is your color comes up, you get to do the action of it, but it's all about building that central deck and making it work out for yourself. It's not a cooperative game. It is a competitive game. So just an interesting take on deck building, having this one central deck and trying to make that deck work for you better than it's working for anybody else. Asmodee, in association with Helvetique, is releasing the party game Frantic Antics. Plays 4 to 10 players in 15 minutes, and it is a lightweight party game. Have you ever played charades and thought, man, I wish this game was more chaotic? Boy, this is too boring watching one person struggling up there. I wish I could watch a bunch of people struggling at the same time. Well, that is Frantic Antics. It takes the classic charades experience to a new level of engagement and competition. Everyone plays at once. Everybody does charades at once. It's going to be wild. It's going to be chaotic. You're going to try to figure it out. You'll advance towards the finish line not just by expertly mimicking your assigned words, but also by swiftly deciphering the actions of others. So, if you want to, I imagine there's going to be laughter and there's also going to be fighting when you play Frantic Antics. Aspity and Helvetique are also releasing the game Ninjan. Plays 2 to 5 players in 15 to 30 minutes, and it is a lightweight card game. This is a smaller box card game. This adds rock, paper, scissors mechanisms into a card game. You are trying to recruit the strongest ninjas possible, and so you will all simultaneously choose a card from your hand, and then that will help you, or that will determine which cards you get out of the market row, which cards you get to take. But there is a rock, paper, scissors mechanism. So, if I put down rock and you put down scissors, I get to draft first because rock beats scissors. But what if there's paper out there? And so, it's just trying to figure out how we are drafting, how we are selecting cards based on that classic rock, paper, scissors. One thing beats another thing, which beats another thing, which beats another thing, and it's the circle of life, Everything beats something. CGE is releasing the game SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. Some of you might have already gotten a copy of this. It was available at BGG-Con and PAX Unplugged, but now it is having its retail release here in January. Plays 1 to 4 players in 40 to 160 minutes, and it is a heavyweight game. I feel like CGE releases one heavyweight game a year, a big production, big involved game, and this is the one for, 2024 / here in January 2025. It is a Euro game where you are leading a scientific institution tasked with searching for traces of life beyond planet Earth. One thing that's notable about SETI is a lot of board games, a lot of space-themed games are science fiction. We're traveling around in spaceships, exploring planets. Well, SETI is really based in actual current science. You are doing similar things to scientists here on Earth, searching for signs of life out there in the galaxy, so that's kind of cool. You get to learn about the real science of searching for extraterrestrial intelligence. The production value is incredible on the game too. There are these interlocking. The board has multiple dials that will rotate and will change the position of the planets out on the board, and will change your position relative to other things out on the board. So it's always rotating. And you are moving around and trying to gain information, trying to gain, as with any heavyweight game, there's a lot of things going on. I can't go into all of them here, but you're getting data and analyzing it and boosting your telescope signal capacity, increasing your supply of resources. Heavyweight game, a lot of different things to do in the game, a lot of paths to victory. But if you like science, then SETI might be a game for you. All right, next up, Chip Theory Games, in association with Neon Night Games, is releasing the game Neon Rain. Plays 1 to 2 players in about 15 minutes, and it is a lighter weight game. So Chip Theory recently started this sub-brand called Neon Night Games to put out Manny Tremblay's games, which all come with cool designs and great artwork. And this game in particular is a mostly 2-player game. I think that's where it shines the most, as a head-to-head combat game. It is an arcade-style game. It is a head-to-head dueling game. You are playing cards to hit your opponent, to defend against their attacks, and mostly you're doing it you're trying to play cards that get you combos. Like if I do a joystick right, and the A button, then I get to do this cool action. And so you're trying to find combos in the cards that you have. And you also have a character that has sort of an ultimate combo. And so, maybe a couple times a game, boom, 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 I get to do that ultimate power and hit you for a bunch. and you're just trying to stay alive. I've played a couple of games of Neon Rain so far, and both of them have been very tense in the sense that it came down to the very end who was going to win or lose, which I like about the game. You know, it didn't feel like someone was running away with the victory. And the artwork and just the look of it, it really does feel like this old school arcade button masher fighting each other. It's a really cool looking game for sure. Next up on the best games coming to retail in January 2025, Dranda Games is releasing Explorers of Navoria. This plays 2 to 4 players in 40 to 80 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. In the game, you are pulling some tokens from a bag, and then using those tokens, you'll pull 2 from a bag each turn, and then you'll use one of those to draft a card into your tableau, and the other one will go out onto the board. And there's some engine building aspect to the tableau building that you're doing. As cards are adding to your tableau, they'll help you do more things, cooler things, better things. Some give you ongoing powers, some give you instant benefits. And then with the tokens that you drafted from the bag, you'll also then be doing a worker placement aspect with those tokens, where you are visiting locations on the mainland of Navoria, and those places will get you resources and special abilities and goods and, you know, just a lot of stuff that you need in a game to do well. You know, general game sort of things. Yeah, so if you like, I mean, I'm a big fan of, you know, pulling stuff from a bag. I'm a big fan of engine building in games, so this one sounds cool to me. The art looks really great too. I mean, it definitely looks very beautiful as you're exploring strange and new lands. Flat River Games, in association with Dirty Rascal, is releasing the game Survival of the Fattest. Plays 1 to 4 players in 45 to 90 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. Survival of the Fattest, because you are playing as woodland creatures trying to beef up before the winter. You gotta be a beefy little guy to survive that winter. Winters are harsh, you know? You ain't gonna survive it if you ain't a beefcake. Your woodland creature will give you unique tricks and abilities that you can use to forage for food. You will have cards that you're going to play which are unique to your character and allow you to do different things on the board, including gathering food. And at its core, it's probably a recipe fulfillment game. You're going to spend your gathered food to complete delicious recipes from the market for in-game bonuses and end-game victory points. And after 3 seasons, if you've fed your critter and accumulated the most victory points, you shall be declared the winner. The interesting thing, you heard me say the cards are like tricks, but they're not, like, it's not trick-taking. You're literally doing something, manipulating something, screwing somebody over in the game. So you're like tricking somebody. So there definitely is some take that in the game, in the sense of like, oh, you thought I was going there, but I'm going over here and I'm stealing the thing you wanted. Ha ha! So you gotta like that to enjoy the game. But it is a fun theme as you're preparing for winter, as we're in winter right now. I can't say that I live in California. There's no winter here where I live. Next up, Flat River Games, in association with Geek Attitude Games, is releasing the game Babylon. This plays 2 to 4 players in 40 to 60 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. In the game, you will be drafting tiles, selecting tiles from this central player area, and one of the cool things about the game is those tiles are the game box. Like, you're using the board as part of the box, and everything holds the pieces, holds the tiles, so you're not setting up a whole separate board. I love when games use the boxes in their mechanisms like that. It's just as fun. I don't know, it feels cool when you're doing it. You're like, hey, it's all one thing. We're a synergy. You know, gamers love synergy in games, and this kind of has it. So you'll be taking a tile and then adding it to your player area, and you are going to be building up the 3-dimensional hanging gardens of Babylon. And you're going to add features to the tiles that you are playing. the first thing you're doing is when you're drafting a tile, that's going to get you some columns. And columns will allow you to build up, and you're going to be putting your tiles on top of these columns. But then there will also be bridges and fountains and balconies and all of these features that you can put on the tiles that you just place down. And, stairs have to go from one tile to another tile, and bridges have to have a tile gap in between them. And so the way you place them is going to be different for each feature. But then each feature is going to score you points based on how high they are up. So if you get a bridge on your third level, then that's going to be worth a bunch of points. Whereas a bridge on your first level, is still worth a few points. And so you're just building everything up, and it is fairly solitary in the sense that we are all building our own player areas, our own three-dimensional structures. So there's not a lot of player interaction, so know that going into the game. I will also say that, the structures are decently fiddly, so you have to be careful when you are playing this game. If somebody bumps the table really strongly, then that might be the end of the game. The game either ends when the tiles are selected or when somebody bumps the table a lot. So I think I've played Babylon 3 times at this point, and only once have I seen somebody's entire structure fall down in the middle of the game. But that did happen once, and it was hard to reset their board. And so, but alternatively, it does look super cool. The three-dimensionality of the game, the structure that you're building up, does look gorgeous on the table, so that's cool. Next up, Flat River Games, in association with Maestro Media, is releasing The Smurfs Hidden Village. The Smurfs Hidden Village plays 1 to 5 players in about 30 minutes, and it is a lighter weight game, but maybe on the higher end of lighter weight. This is obviously based on the Smurfs IP. It's also a cooperative game, so if you like cooperative games, this is one they say plays ages 8 and up. So this is a family weight cooperative game. If you like the Smurfs, there's a lot of Smurf stuff in the game, as you might guess. You are trying to rebuild Smurf homes. Every Smurf home kind of starts not complete, and there's a way to complete it, and so you're trying to do that to rebuild the homes. You're also doing some worker placement and some deck building. Everybody starts with a certain amount of Smurfs in their hand, and the starting Smurfs aren't that great, but you can recruit new Smurfs to your deck, to your hand, that will get you better special abilities. And you're also placing Smurf meeples out on the board to take actions. You're also, trying to avoid Gargamel, and there's a couple other bad guys in the game too, but Gargamel will take a turn and ruin things for you, and you need to watch out. And, it is very cooperative, even in the sense that some of the worker placement spots require multiple Smurfs there. So I can go there, but I don't actually get to take an action until you go there, and now we get to do the thing. And so you will be working together. Each Smurf has a unique set of skills that you must use strategically to outsmart Gargamel. If you like Smurf stuff, then check out The Smurfs Hidden Village. Hachette is releasing the game Solstis. This plays 2 players only in about 15 minutes, and it is a lightweight game. This is a small box game, so if you're looking for a little box that you can take around with you, then Solstice is a good option for that. You are going to be putting tiles down and building out your own personal player area, just like your opponent, with tiles. How you gain tiles is unique and interesting. You're going to start with a hand of tiles in your hand. The hand of tiles is in your hand? Yes, you're going to start with a hand of tiles in your hand. I'm doubling down on it. You're going to pick one of those tiles and play it out. And that tile will have a number and a color on it. And then you can draft tiles from the market that either are the same number or the same color. And then as you go later in the game, you might not be able to draft anything. So if you put a tile down and it doesn't match any numbers or colors, it now goes into the display, and your opponent has a new tile to draft from it. And if they don't have it, their tile goes into the display. And so you are drafting these tiles, and you are trying to create the largest contiguous area of tiles. And so if I drafted the 2 and the 5 of orange, I better hope that I can get the 3 and the 4 to connect the 2 and the 5 together. Or maybe I can do it in a different way, and you're just trying to, you're trying to not have huge gaps in the tiles that you place in your area, but that's going to be hard because your opponent's going to be taking tiles too, and they might take something that you want. So if you want a quick playing small box 2-player game, then check out Solstis. Pegasus Spiele, in association with Cranio Creations, is releasing the game MESOS. This plays 2 to 5 players in 20 to 50 minutes, and it is a medium weight game, but on the lower end of medium weight games. MESOS is a card drafting game, but the drafting is done in a unique way. There's going to be a row of cards above and below the sort of central action row. And you're going to place your, I don't know what they call them, but you're going to place your, meeple, that's not what it is, but for lack of a better word, you're going to place your token down in one of the spots. And that spot is going to tell you how you draft cards. Maybe it's going to tell you you get 1 card from above and 1 card from below. And the later you place your own token in that row, the more cards you're going to get, but the less choice you're going to get, because the people that put their token earlier in the row are going to draft first. They're going to get less cards, but they're going to get the card that they want, whereas if you go later, you're going to get a bunch of cards, but you're just getting the slop that's left over. And then each of the cards that you're taking is going to get you special abilities in certain ways. There's 6 types of characters. There's, hunters and gatherers and shamans and a bunch of different types of people, social roles essentially, and those things are going to, a hunter is going to help feed your other characters, and a shaman is going to get to perform a ritual when certain cards come out, and each of them are going to do different stuff for you. So thematically, you are taking on the role of a Mesolithic leader and guiding your tribe to victory. The artwork is really cool in the game for sure. It sounds fun to me, and I hope to check it out soon. I like card drafting, and I like when games find a unique way to do card drafting, so MESOS seems cool. Pegasus Spiele is also releasing Mini Crimes The Drowned King. This plays 1 to 8 players in about 30 minutes, and it is a lightweight game. This is the first of their Mini Crimes series that's coming out. So there will be multiple games in this Mini Crimes series. As a series, they are compact, small box, sort of cooperative detective style games. The box itself contains a deck of cards contained in it, and it will be enough to get all the clues necessary to figure out the mystery, to figure out the case, to figure out the resolution. You're going to be using your observation and deduction skills to solve the tests, to solve, boy, I really messed that sentence up. You'll put your observation and deduction skills to the test to solve, oh boy, it's getting late in the video. Okay. I can do this. You'll put your observation and deduction skills to the test to solve a mysterious case. Boom, did it. Drink of water as my reward. So this is the version of this one is the Drowned King, the famous Italian chess champion, is found dead in the bathtub of his hotel room in Berlin. It's the eve of his match at the World Chess Championship. Was it an accident or ... So if you like detective-style games, Mini Crimes is meant to be a small box one you can put in your pocket, your purse, take it wherever with you, and play it with other people. Next up, Pine Island Games is releasing the game Sigil. This is a 2-player only game, plays in about 30 minutes, and it is a lighter weight game, but on the higher end of lighter weight game. It's not a party game. It's a 2-player abstract dueling game. You're going to be placing your own color stones out onto the board. And you have to place a stone connected to a previous stone that you've already placed. You can't just go willy-nilly and place them anywhere out on the board. The board is populated with 9 random spells. And if you put all of your stones, if you cover up every spot on a spell with your stones, you can activate that spell. And spells are very powerful. However, to activate a spell, you have to sacrifice your stones. One of the win conditions is if one player ever has more than 3 stones on the board than another player, then if you have more than 3 stones, you win the game. And so you have to be careful because there are small spells in the game and large spells, and some spells might require you to sacrifice like 5 stones. Well, you better not do that unless you're prepared for it. So that is one way that the game can end. The other way that the game can end is once somebody casts their 6th spell, the game will end when someone casts their 6th spell, and whoever has the most stones wins. You can also crush your opponent's stones out of the game. There are ways, if you can put your stone where your opponent has a stone, and they can basically retreat from that spot to any other connected spot. But if there are no other spots, boom, you crush their stone. And so it's very pretty. It's very abstract, but it looks cool with all the stones on the table. And if you like spells, if you like head-to-head games, then check out Sigil. Next up, Plaid Hat Games is releasing Wandering Galaxy, a Crossroads game. This plays 1 to 6 players in 60 to 180 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. This is the new game in their line of storytelling, choose-your-own-adventure games. We had Forgotten Waters, we had Freelancers, now we have Wandering Galaxy. This is obviously set in space. You're moving a spaceship all over, you're exploring, discovering, but you are, in this game, compared to the other ones, this is a deck building game, not a dice rolling game. In those other 2 games I mentioned, you were doing a lot of skill checks by rolling dice and hoping to pass different skill checks. You will still be doing skill checks in Wandering Galaxy, but now you do it by revealing cards from your deck, and different challenges, different objectives require different symbols. And so you can build your deck to be really good at certain things. And hopefully, since it's a cooperative game, you're building your decks in alternate ways. So some of you are good at different things. And this can be the person that goes and does this, and this can be the person that goes and does that. Ultimately, the reason why you're going to play this game, though, is the storytelling and the voice acting in it. It's incredible. These are my favorite storytelling games, my favorite sort of choose-your-own-adventure type of games because of the storytelling and the acting in it. They've ruined other games for me. There are plenty of games where you have to open up a book and read an entry. No, I don't want to do that anymore, because in these Crossroad games, you are using an app and there are voice actors that are reading what happens in the moment. And it's hilarious and it's immersive, you feel sucked into the world because of the voice acting and stuff like that. It just, I've had a ton of memorable moments playing the Crossroads games because of story beats that happened, I can think of multiple of them right now in my head. So I'm personally, this was on my most, hyped games of the year list. I'm really excited to play Wandering Galaxy soon. Trick or Treat Studios is releasing the game Immortal. This plays 2 to 6 players in 30 to 60 minutes, and it is a, on the edge of lightweight to medium weight games. You are playing flowers, which are tiles. You're playing tiles down into a central area, and when you play tiles into the central area, you have to create groups of at least 3 in order to put tiles out. And you can create a group by having the same number across different colors, or having ascending or descending values in the same number. I could have the yellow 10, 9, 8, 7, and I could place all of those out there. And then you are, puzzling how you're going to put other stuff out there. You're going to select new tiles. If you like tile laying games, this one is cool and different in the way you're placing tiles out there. You can only add to a single row or column at a time, but you could, if you had multiple sets of things, you could add both of those sets to a single row and column, provided that the space was available. And the first player to place all of their flowers out on the board is the winner. So I like easy win conditions like that as well. You can see it ticking down. You can see who's getting close. Wacky Wizard Games, which is the sort of lighter game sub-brand of Wise Wizard Games, is releasing the game Pack the Essentials. This plays 1 to 4 players in 20 to 30 minutes, and it is a lighter weight game, but maybe on the higher end of lighter weight. It is a tile-laying game as well, but in this one, you have polyomino tiles, and you are packing your suitcase, your luggage, for a trip. And the cute thing about the game is that every tile has clothing on one side, but then a cat on the other side. And so are you packing this as a sweater, or are you packing your kitten into the suitcase? And there, you're going to get points for different ways that you do stuff. And you also have some different ways to draft the cards out of the row. You know, there's going to be some tiles available, not cards, tiles, polyomino tiles. And you're going to be placing your meeple down into these selection spots. And if you go first, you'll get the tile that you want. You know, you're going to get whatever you want because you're picking first, but you'll get less of a benefit. The different spots give you things like pack rats, and pack rats are what can flip a tile from its closed side to its cat side. And so there's just cool. If you are playing with fewer than 4 players, there is an AI opponent that joins the game, and those are the cat ladies, which is kind of silly and fun, and they will essentially steal one of the tiles from the row. If they, they might get put on second and then choose one second before you get to choose the one you want. So yeah, Pack the Essentials, a polyomino tile-laying game about putting cats in a suitcase. Last up for this month, WizKids is releasing Star Trek Captain's Chair. This plays 1 to 2 players in 60 to 120 minutes, and it is a heavyweight game. This is a head-to-head game where you are going against your opponent, and you are each playing as an iconic character from the Star Trek galaxy, and you are going to be commanding ships and crews and away teams while you manage resources and alliances. Each of the 6 captains in the game comes with their own asymmetric deck of cards, and that asymmetric deck of cards is going to tie to that captain's personality, their strategies, their allies, their assets. Some of the ones that Jean-Luc Picard, Benjamin Sisko, Michael Burnham, and I'm going to say, if I say the other ones, Star Trek fans are going to get mad at me, but there's a few more. And it is a deck building game. You are going to be adding to your deck both from your own personal deck. You have a sort of reserve deck, and you are adding to your deck from that reserve deck. And then there's also going to be a market where you're adding cards. This is a heavyweight game, so there's some rules overhead about how to play the game and how everything's going to work. But if you like head-to-head games, if you like Star Trek, all that, you might like Star Trek Captain's Chair. Woo! That is 27 games coming to retail in the month of January. As always, I hope you found something that you like. There's a lot of different games, a lot of different types of games coming out each month. I will be back every single month with more best games coming to retail videos. If you'd like to support me, I would actually ask that you instead support the victims of the fires in Los Angeles. I live in Los Angeles, and it's been pretty devastating here in LA. I've had a lot of people reaching out to me to make sure I'm okay, and I really appreciate that. I'm lucky to have a large network of people that care, and yes, I am personally okay. I live far enough away that I will remain okay, but I can't say the same for a lot of people I know. I know a lot of people that have lost their homes. In fact, talking about board games, I go to a neighborhood once a week to play board games with my game group, and pretty much that entire neighborhood doesn't exist anymore. And so there's a lot of people that need a lot of help. So I would ask that I'll put an article in the description of the video where you can find some more resources about how to help or different ways that you can help. You know, in times of crisis, I like to think about this idea that you can help by either being a sword, a shield, or a purse. And all of those are valid ways to help. You know, swords, those are the people that are out on the front lines, that are protesting, demonstrating, fighting back, searching for survivors, all of that sort of stuff. Those are the swords. And the shields are the people that are supporting those people, you know? Those are the people that are bringing water and making food and supporting the logistics and all of that sort of stuff. And then a purse is someone that donates money to help the first two groups of people. And so there's a lot of different ways to help, and none of them are wrong and none of them are right. It's just nice to help people in need. So thank you guys very much. I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex.